Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey watching 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Everyone out there, remember, do not use these videos as a replacement for therapy. You can watch and you can learn things, but it's education only. If you have a particular issue yourself, you really need professional, in-person clinical services. You deserve to get that. Seek that out. You deserve it. You deserve that individualized attention that I can't give you. And so please seek that out if you need it, and let's get to the show.
I hope that we can get help tonight to improve our marriage. Right now, I'm not having any sex with my wife. The last time I had sex with her was probably a month ago. When I first met Larissa, sex with her was amazing. It was like the apocalypse, the earthquake, all the fireworks going off. I was like, yeah, but...
All right. So great. We're hearing about their sexual life. We want to be sex positive and non-shaming and not sex negative. So it's good information. Interesting. Let's see what sort of details we get on that.
Lately, she just cut herself off completely from me. You're my partner. We should be able to express our love through intimacy. Physical intimacy. So
there's a lot to say here. It's really quite involved. There's one level of sexism that a man is feeling entitled to a woman's body. There is that historical, political context that might be happening in this relationship. I don't know. I'd have to ask the two of them, particularly Larissa. There's the aspect of libido, which does change for people over time. Some people fluctuate quite a bit in their libido. Some people don't. Some people have incursions on their libido, like either medications or mood or status of the relationship or the way sex usually happens for them. They don't like it, or their sexual traumas or whatever. There's a lot of reasons why people have varying libidos. There's also a lot of reasons why there would be a high libido person and a low libido person. There are a lot of answers to that. There are a lot of things to explore. Sometimes it's just the way that it is and you just have to deal with it. Sometimes there are ways to adjust people's libido up or down. There's a lot of discussion of sexual shame and liberation and communication and being able to assert yourself and not necessarily equating sex with one particular kind of sex, but expanding what sex means to cuddling and other kinds of touching and intimacy instead of just, one thing, which for a lot of people, particularly men, it can be equated to. So there's a lot to say here. We've heard nothing about that. We've only heard that Colt is upset that, he seems mildly upset, that the two of them haven't had sex in a long time, and he's trying now to communicate to her about that. Instead of saying, wife of mine, I would like to have sex. I get the impression you don't want to have sex. Maybe we should go to a couples therapist and we can talk about it. Instead, he is saying something like, marriage is supposed to have sex in it, that kind of message, which is not a good message. Essentially saying, I don't care why you don't want to have sex, but you're married to me now, so you will have sex with me. It's a very common refrain that people will say, particularly men, because men aren't born this way. Men are taught that they are entitled to sex. Men are taught that they're entitled to women's bodies. Men are taught that their masculinity depends on their wives having sex with them frequently. Men are taught that they are a wuss if they aren't sexually virile and want, people don't want to have sex with them. So there's a lot of pressure on men to forego empathy and communication for please have sex with me because a lot of my masculinity and my self-esteem and my image depends on this, because we tell that to men. There's a lot to say here. I don't know which, if any of these factors or all the above are at play here, but I just thought I'd say that.
I find you very attractive. I would assume that you find me attractive as well. That would be yes?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think that you are nymphomaniac.
Okay. Wow.
It's not normal someone makes sex like 10 times in a day. Why you don't?
Whoa.
Interesting. So Larissa is saying it's not normal that someone wants to have sex 10 times a day. And he didn't indicate that she was being sarcastic or exaggerating. So I wonder what that means. That's interesting. Now, there's nothing wrong with having sex 10 times a day. There's a wide range if it's consensual and people are into it, it's fine. We don't want to be sex negative, and we don't want to pathologize high libido people. But it is an insight into maybe the way that the mechanics of their sexual life work. And then she just asks, why don't you, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, but why don't you do things on your own? I think is what she just asked. And he's about to answer the question.
I gave up my card when I got married. I burned that.
I can make a new membership for you. My sexual life with Colt is a disaster because I'm not a blow-up doll. Colt think that the woman needs to please him all the time. And I no longer trust in Colt as a human, and I have no sexual desires because he called the police against me.
Okay, so she's saying that he believes that women are there to have sex with. That's interesting. We haven't heard that yet, I don't think, from Larissa. And maybe that's what she was referring to earlier in the season when she said she didn't feel safe. I don't know. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a high libido. Usually these things are worked out prior to marriage. There's a lot of high libido women out there who could have been a great match for Colt, where this other high libido woman considers men to be sex dolls as well, and they're compatible in that way. So these are usually things you want to work out, or you want to negotiate. It's like, well, what's the compromise here? I want to have sex 10 times a day. You want to have sex once a month. What do we want to do here? How do we want to negotiate? Now, I wonder, though, what's going on there, because if we zoom out a little bit, we see a privileged white American male who is finding someone abroad who wants to come to the United States, and he gave some evidence where he was using that against her to make her conform to what he wanted in a wife, and maybe that was being communicated in the bedroom as well, and she felt like she had to give in order to come to the United States, get the green card, get the visa, get the life for her children. We ran into this with Rose and Ed, right? Where for Rose, she had a child and she wanted to have her child grow up with opportunities that her very small village in the Philippines probably couldn't provide. She fell in love with someone, Ed, and she was like, win-win. I both like him and he can give me a life and my son a wonderful life in San Diego. But then Ed, when push came to shove and they were starting to have some conflicts, Ed would say, you better step in line and do what I say. I mean, he didn't say this, but it was kind of implied that you better do what I say, and I don't want to hear you complain anymore because I hold all the cards, because if you don't please me, you don't get into the United States. Maybe that's happening here, and it's in a sexual contract that Colt very purposefully set out to engage in. There's some very circumstantial evidence based on what we've seen here. So maybe we'll get some more detail on that. But I've worked with a lot of couples like this, high libido, low libido. It's just a lot of communication. And there's a lot of opportunities there. There's a lot of flexibility. Usually what happens, though, in families, in couples, is they don't talk about it really in a constructive way. And resentment builds up, anger builds up, passive aggression builds up, and then bad things happen, like cheating or something else.
And I was arrested.
Hi, I'm Madison Gully.
Larissa.
Nice to meet you, Larissa.
The other thing that she said, for Larissa, she's saying that after being arrested, she didn't want to have sex with him anymore. And that's a wonderful opportunity in couples therapy to heal from that moment. They have a lot to heal from. I've worked with many couples on that, where they had a call to the police, and there was a lot of feelings around that, and a lot of hurt, and a lot of fear, a lot of dysregulation for the two of them, and it's traumatizing. The police show up, they drag someone away. She went to a holding cell for a couple days, I think. That's a traumatic moment, I mean, undoubtedly. To heal from that, it requires a lot of talking, a lot of emotions, and a lot of apologizing, and a lot of understanding, and a lot of empathy. And after that, maybe Larissa and Colt's sexual life might be able to return a little bit to normal. But without that, Larissa's anger and hurt builds up. She doesn't want to have sex with him, which is reasonable under those emotions. Colt gets angry, pressures her. She gets more angry. She distances, and then we're in a pursuer-distancer dynamic that usually doesn't end well. Hey, deserving listeners, as you know, I'm constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. One of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp.com. So if you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to BetterHelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the /Kirk because you get 10% off your first month, and it helps us out. I get a lot of emails from you saying that you're looking for a therapist. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, but I know it can be really hard to find a good one to work with. Like I said, one of the options available to try is BetterHelp.com/Kirk. And you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide, which is amazing. I've been told that you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message with your counselor anytime. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. And I've been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy. So go to BetterHelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month of therapy today.
I'm Colt.
Hi, Colt. Madison Gully. Please have a
Pleasure.
seat.
Sweet.
Thank you for coming. How can I help you?
So we have some problems in our relationship.
How long have you been married?
5 months.
Okay. So how is living together?
Are they in couples therapy right now? Is that what's happening right now? Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Thank you in the comments for not spoiling this for me. This is fantastic. My goodness. Now, I hope they go to more than one session because, Darcy went to one session of therapy. I believe it was just one session. One session does not a therapy make. So hopefully it'll be a lot, but this is fantastic. 2 thumbs up. Is this couples therapy? It's almost too good to be true.
His mother live with us, and she like Colt's first wife. She doesn't allow me to be his wife. His mother is doing it for me. So it turn off my sexual desires.
All right, it's interesting. I wonder about the validity of what's happening right now for Larissa. In the voiceover, she was talking about how the call to the police and having her go to the holding cell for a couple days was very hurtful and traumatic for her, and that's what turned off her libido. She sits down on which seems very reasonable that she'd have a lot of feelings around that. She sits down on the couch, and then she says, "It's all Debbie's fault." That's a very common thing that Larissa goes to is, "It's all Debbie's fault. Debbie turned off my sexual desires." I think Larissa has some complex around a third person who is interfering with her relationship with another person. I've been hypothesizing about that. I have no evidence of it, by the way. It's just the sort of rigidity of the mindset that indicates something in the past that might have been along those lines. Total speculation, but one configuration was she was trying to get love from her father, and her father was inconsistent with her, and her mother was seen as someone getting in the way. Or she was trying to get attention and love from her parents, but there was a sibling that was getting in the way. Who knows? That ongoing hurt and pain and assumption that there's a third person that's interfering might have been solidified in her neurons such that when something's going wrong with Colt, she automatically looks for some third person that must be getting in the way because that was very true for her when she was growing up. I don't know, but that's my hypothesis. So, I have to say, I'm really worried about this session because if they're going to have just one session, and they're probably only going to show like a few minutes of it. That's a lot of pressure to put on this couples therapist because there's a lot of details here, and they have a high level of conflict. If I was going to work with a couple like this, for example, I would actually take it very slow because I would see a lot of issues probably right away, and I would probably do a lot of listening for the first like 6 to 10 sessions and not a lot of intervening. I do a lot of reflecting. I wouldn't do a lot of trying to change things. I would really just be, okay, tell me more. What's going on there? How do you feel about that? A lot of open-ended things, because I would suspect that the landscape was much more complex than could be easily understood and intervened with. But I'm worried because since this therapist, is it a therapist? I don't even know. What is this person's credentials? Now I'm worried. But they're on a TV show, and so there's a lot of pressure put on this clinician because she's like, the entire world is going to watch me, and my reputation is on the line. I don't know if this is what she's feeling, but it wouldn't be unusual. And so I've got to do something. And usually when couples therapists get really eager in the first bit of therapy, bad things happen. So I don't know. I'm worried.
So do you feel stuck in the middle?
Yes, horribly so. And I don't know what to do.
You have your wife and your mother, and so you have to figure out how to let both of these women be in your life in a healthy way. So that
All right. So she's intervening pretty quickly, which is worrisome, but it's not bad. She's saying that you, as the middle person, who you're connected with Larissa, you're connected with your mom, you are responsible for figuring out how to help these two people get together and get along. I can get behind that. I don't know if I would jump to that right away because I think there are more fundamental issues that are much more present in the two of their personalities that really have nothing to do with the mom. But yeah, it's not a bad intervention. I don't think her saying this to them is going to change anything, by the way, because I think it runs deeper than that. But let's continue watching.
they're not battling over you unless you really like that contention.
Unless you really like that contention. Let me rewind it and see if they actually said what kind of person this was.
Hi, I'm Madison Gully.
Larissa.
Nice to meet you, Larissa.
I'm Colt.
Hi, Colt. Madison Gully. Please have a
Pleasure.
seat.
Sweet.
Madison Gully. I'm just going to Google her. Okay, so I found a bunch of different her own website and her own listings of her own qualifications. It appears that she is a clinician of some sort. It doesn't say she's licensed, though, but it references some things related to couples coaching. So I think she's definitely in the direction of a clinician, but I don't know if she's licensed in the state of Nevada or not. But yeah, she looks like she's legit.
So how is the sex? Let's talk about that.
Our sex life is pretty much non-existent. When it does occur, she's like a samurai warrior going to battle. She needs a lot of prep time.
Sure.
She needs to take a shower, do all this stuff, put perfume on, don her armor, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like, trying to fuse a bomb, like, if I do one wrong thing, cut the wrong wire, it's over. It's done. She will shut down. You know what I mean?
Okay, this is great. I've had many conversations with couples along these lines. Not this exact conversation, but many conversations like this. And by the way, on her website, it says that she has training in working with sexuality. What did it say? Clinical sexology, it says here. And so she specializes in it. And the approach that is recommended by experts in this situation is there's a whole assessment period before you intervene regarding sexuality in couples, because it's very complex. There's so much history that we have individually and as a culture regarding sexuality, and it's genderized, and we have traumas, and we have disappointments, and we have self-esteem issues and sex negativity. So there's so much to unpack. And so the key is, from a couples therapist, working with sexuality with people, is you have to spend a lot of time creating a space where people can talk about sexuality without judgment, that they can say how they feel about it, that Colt can say, it feels like I'm fusing a bomb and it's very scary and I don't know what to do and it feels like she rejects me over nothing. And then you say, okay, that's how you feel, let's not jump on that. That's Colt's perspective. Thank you for sharing. That takes a lot of guts to say. Larissa, how do you feel about it? And you explore a lot of things.
I do like this. Actually, this is called setting the stage. I think couples, they get out of the habit of this. They do this when they're dating, but they don't do this when they're married.
It's true.
I completely agree with you, and I love
Okay.
it. On the other hand, sometimes I just want to roll over and kiss her.
That's fine too, but that's called a quickie.
Yes.
If you just want to get in and out, then you need to say that.
Brazilians are very
Okay, so that's actually not a bad little tip, is to say that when you're dating, you set the stage for sex often. Now, not every couple does this, but a lot do. There's a certain ritual or a certain getting into the mood that you put effort into, often in the beginning, not always in the beginning, but often. And as time goes on, there's a sort of foregoing of those initial phases because you don't have a lot of time, or you don't really feel like it, or you're not inspired, or distance or resentment that builds up between people. And what when I like to explain this to couples, what I like to say is not like you need to set the stage or else. What I say is there's a lot of wonderful things that can happen when you're setting the stage. I don't use the term setting the stage, but when the build up to sex, there's a lot of wonderful little things that can happen there that you probably want to do, but you're worried about being rejected for. The cuddling, the kissing, the just holding each other, the looking into each other's eyes, all those things, those are things that most humans want to do regardless of gender. And when they do them, it feels good. And when they don't do them, because even though they want to do them, it's because they're worried about extending themselves and being hurt. And so they just want to get to the easy stuff, which is often the main sexual act, and get some gratification sexually and intimacy and closeness through that. And it's less vulnerable because there's a more set routine to that. Anyway. So what she's doing right now is good. It's a good thing.
One thing that I have to say that Colt wants to talk dirty. Brazilians are conservative. We can dress sexy, but we are conservative.
Most of the time, what couples want in the bedroom and what they want outside the bedroom is two separate things.
Okay.
So more than likely, you're speaking two separate languages in and out of the bedroom.
I completely agree, and there is no translator software that will help us.
All right. It seems to be working. They're helping. I would like to see more facilitation of communication. That's the key. You don't want the couple to need you to translate for the two of them. You want to help them develop a system such that when the time comes, they can work stuff out amongst themselves. And sexuality, there's a lot of that needs to happen. Because there's a lot of, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, there's a lot of reaching out, bids, that sort of thing, telling the other person, yes, I want to do this, but not that. And a lot of that is facilitated nonverbally. And so I would wish that there was more of that. But, what she's doing seems to be going over well, so I'll commend that for sure.
The two of you have to spend more time actually getting to know each other on a deeper level. It doesn't matter how long you're married, how long you're newlyweds. You should be dating. One should be an adventurous date, an outdoor date. One can be a romantic date, or even a sex date.
Nice.
There's a couple of exercises that you can do that I think might be really helpful. One is a sensual exercise where you actually map each other's sensuality and you use feathers or ice cubes.
All right, so it's fine. It seems a little bit of a jumping of the gun, honestly, because there's so many other possibilities that could be at play that haven't been addressed yet. Sexual traumas, for example, the fact that they have a lot of resentment, those kinds of issues. But, the directive isn't bad. She's giving them homework, I think, and maybe it's an assessment tool that she uses with different couples, like the couples that come in and it works with, then she knows this about them. The couples that come in it doesn't work with, then she knows this about them. I don't know. But my personal, and so I'm not going to make fun of that style, but that's not my style. I tend to wait. I tend to do a lot of exploration, a lot of assessment, because I don't want to miss something in the beginning. I don't want to forge ahead assuming that those other things aren't there. I always want to know a lot of information from people. But, that's just my style. Some people are they want to do things more quickly, and some couples appreciate that. So, that's just a style difference, I think.
And you can touch each other and blindfold each other as well and kind of ask each other, hey, do you like the way this feels?
Sounds like really fun homework.
It is.
Want to do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Today was funny, and because we talked to the therapist, I feel Colt a little bit more close to me.
All right. So 2 thumbs up. It seems like it's working. They both like the homework. She feels closer to him. This is great. I mean, overall, I'll say fantastic. They took an hour-long session and spliced it into about a minute and a half. So,
Make me feel happy.
Madison, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Honestly, Larissa and I have a lot of issues, and it's just because we didn't know much about each other before we got married. But I hope we haven't lost our intimacy forever.
So commend Madison Gully, MS, MFT intern from Las Vegas. One of my own, and a fellow couples therapist. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.